and you're this very intelligent kid,
Mhm.
and your mom was like, "He's gonna be fun," and you're like, "You know what? I'm gonna go and be a filthy comic."
A dirtbag. Well, I got kicked out of Moody Bible. Shout out to Moody Bible.
Really?
Got kicked out.
What do you mean kicked out? Is that I don't even know what that means.
They remove you from their curriculum. You are not allowed to go to school there anymore. I got asked to leave politely. My mother, one of the nuns.
Is Moody Bible, is that a Catholic school, I
Yeah.
guess?
It's
Okay.
right. You know where
Jim, do you know anything?
It's right across from Second City. Did you ever go to Second
wow.
City? Ever in the city?
I went and saw a show there.
Yeah, it's right across the street. It's a big church right on the corner right there. It's a church and a school. But I got asked to leave for being violent and disruptive. I was a little fighter. I was a little bad boy.
You were a bad boy.
I was a little bad boy.
See, I don't see you as a violent type, but like
you get to know me, it gets bad.
So you have a temper.
I think I've calmed it down now in my as I've grown out of a lot of the shit I was angry about. I think it just slowly goes away. It's like how Burr kind of slowly pushed it away. It was really hot at one point.
I don't know. I feel like I love.
He could
Bill
still
Burr.
snap.
By the way, I knew Bill Burr when he was Billy Burr.
I know. I didn't. But Eddie from the Improv, Eddie the bartender at the Improv, he used to always say that. He's like, "Man, you got the same energy as Billy Burr," and I thought he was being condescending. But he's like, no. We called him Billy Burr. This whole Bill Burr thing was new. That's what he said. I never had heard that before.
I remember when Jeff Ross was Jeff Lifshultz.
Lifshitz, yeah, Lifshultz, yeah, that's
Lifshultz,
right. Yeah, that's right. Why didn't he keep that?
A stage name?
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Lifshultz.
When he did Letterman, I think he was Jeff Lifshultz.
For us, the only reason to do a stage name is if your name is tough to pronounce, and I get Lifshultz as kind of, you know, Ross is quicker. But Gaffigan's a good name. You're lucky you got a good name. No, you got a great name. Did you quit smoking?
About 30 years ago.
And you're doing those things still?
I'm still doing it.
Do they work?
Apparently not.
Yeah.
A little. All right, so what do you miss the most about Chicago? This is my segue of talking about pizza.
I like it. I'm going to pour you a little bit. Do you want to have a little sauce?
Yeah,
all
what is so these are all these different kinds.
Just different kinds of jazz.
What's the most expensive one?
Well, this is Blanton's. This is tough to get your fingers on.
Oh yeah.
People don't like that I have this.
So and by the way, if you get all the bottles and you line them up, it looks like a horse race, right?
Well, and it also right there, each of these letters spells Blanton's. That's an L bottle.
Wow.
And people collect these.
And were they bad people, the Blantons, or were they good people?
You would imagine they were bad, but it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Did they own? Are you asking if they own people of any kind?
Well,
I don't know. I don't know what they did.
I don't think Tennessee was a big
Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky. Yeah. Well, I think it's too hilly.
You think it's too hilly to kind of to own people? Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Cheers to me. Look at us.
Look at us.
I think maybe Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky's in the south.
It's right near Indiana.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to tell me.
Yeah.
There's a part of Indiana that was like very Midwest. Everything we grew up with, everything I ever knew, and then there was parts of Indiana I would visit, family or friends. It was a little hicky.
Oh yeah.
But so much wasn't. What's the dividing line?
Well, the thing about Indiana is, obviously, I haven't lived there for 30 years, but when I was growing up, this is what I knew, and this is what I've experienced, is that Northwest Indiana, which is Rust Belt, which is kind of like, it's Chicagoland, same television stations, also same time zone.
Right.
So, like, we're part of Central, but the rest of Indiana is Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And so Northwest Indiana is rejected by Indiana and rejected by Chicago.
Yeah,
historically. So like
true.
when I'm in Chicago and I say I'm from Northwest Indiana, they're like, "Where's that?" I'm like, "It's 10 minutes away." And they're like, "Really?"
It's the tip of the lake.
They're like, "Isn't that the road to Michigan?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, it is essentially." Because people would go on vacation in Michigan, not in Indiana.
No.
But so there's a strange identity crisis in Indiana. So even when I perform in Indy, they're all excited that I'm from Indiana, and then they find out I'm from Northwest Indiana, and they're like,
They're kind of bummed about it.
Yeah.
What's your best market in the Midwest? What do you think you do the best in?
I don't know. It's
Is there one you like the most?
I like them all. I mean, I like performing in all different size cities. So I like, Cedar Rapids. I like Rochester, Minnesota. I like some of these, not huge cities that are kind of there's a fun kind of like the smaller towns are almost kind of interesting.
Did you feel a different? Okay, so listen, because I'm at a point in my career when I do a smaller city, it's just tougher to get people out.
Yeah.
When I do big cities, I can
Yeah.
really do well.
Yeah.
But so when I go to these cities at this stage, it almost feels like going backwards if I go to a smaller town because they're harder to get them out.
It is hard.
Did you have that?
Well, I would think that the podcast thing has replaced morning radio. Like there used to, I mean, there's still the Bob and Tom show. I'm sure you've been on Bob and
I've done
Tom,
that,
right?
Bob and Tom. Yeah,
But Bob and Tom used to be, if you were on Bob and Tom, you could go anywhere in these what are considered B and C markets. And so I think podcasts have kind of weakened terrestrial radio, but that's how you could do it. So
you should do that. Yeah, I did Bob and Tom, but one of them was mean to me. Not Bob or Tom, but one of the other guys was in a bad place, and he was so mean that the producer wrote me an email. Was like, I apologize about it, but he stepped on like every joke, and it felt so weird. And I was like, that guy must have had a bad day.
It is weird.
The vibe was so off.
It's like, I mean, I remember doing morning radio, and I don't know if you ever encountered this, where you would get there and they would just make you wait to make you wait.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
absolutely.
You're out here for like 45 minutes, and you're like, well,
it's 6 a.m. You're already tired.
What are they talking about that I have to wait?
Right.
And yeah, so it's the morning radio stuff.
It's exhausting. I'm glad I don't do it anymore, to be honest.
There's a lot of shit eating, but that's where your podcast, it's got to be exciting.
It supplements it for sure.
And do you know which cities are listening, or is it you just find out base numbers?
No, we have we find out the analytics of like where people are the most. That does help sometimes with like cities I pick, but also there's cities that blew my mind. There's cities that I've gone to that I'm like, I had no idea that this many people like. I put up tickets for Seattle and Portland, and I guess I hadn't played in either of those cities in a couple of years before COVID. I hadn't been there in a year or two. And it sold out within seconds. And I just was like, why Seattle and Portland? I have no...
Those are great comedy.
They are, but I just was surprised. And then there's certain cities where you're like, how come I can't sell a ticket here? I don't. It was like, it's a grind,
and what about internationally? Because some podcasts are just like that's where I'm really jealous is like Australia. Because like if, when you talk about these smaller towns, it's like they don't know who you are. It's like Australia, the UK. It's like I feel like I'm making inroads in Canada. But like, so is this podcast big in Australia? Like I know that Segura.
Yeah, we have enough. We have enough fans in Australia where I've been asked a lot to go down there, and I've never. I want to go.
Yeah,
but I just it's such a hard. That's a big commitment to go down there. When I'm like,
commitment.
I can do the states and do the states and the states and the states, and then at some point I poke up in Canada. I have yet to be brave enough to go down there or to Europe. I haven't done Europe at all.
Yeah,
you've done Europe.
Yes, but it's like it's essentially breaking even when I go anywhere outside of
you mean
North
financially
America.
It's just not really
it's Australia, it's so expensive to get there.
Yeah, it's like $50,000 just a one-way ticket. But that's also because you take your own private jet and you want no one else on it.
Right. I rent out a United Airlines and they're like, we don't even fly to Australia. I'm like, and then I just put down $1 bills and they're like, that's not enough. And then I have to go through 50,000
until you finally get there.
And they're like, that's still not enough. And so then I have to go through another.
And then finally they're like, at some point.
They're like, fine, we have this guy that's going there anyway.
Jim Jeffries. He's heading down that way.
Yes.
So he'll just scoop you up.
Yes.